The Midnight Visitor. Michael was working the night shift at an old radio station deep in the forest, far from the city. The station had been abandoned for years, but was recently reactivated for a test broadcast. Michael's job was simple: monitor the equipment and ensure the broadcast ran smoothly. As midnight passed, the silence of the night was broken by the sound of the wind howling outside. Wearing his headphones, Michael heard nothing but the faint static coming from the station's devices. Suddenly, a soft female voice broke through the static. "Are you listening?" Startled, Michael ripped off his headphones and looked around. The station was locked. There was no way anyone could have entered. He reasoned that the voice must have come from a stray radio signal. Driven by curiosity, he began scanning the frequencies. Every channel was silent until he reached 103.7. A faint hum came through. As Michael leaned closer to the controls, the hum abruptly stopped, and the same soft voice spoke again. "Come outside." Michael's heart pounded. He glanced out the station's window. The forest outside was shrouded in darkness and light mist. But as he squinted, he noticed a figure emerging from the fog. It looked like a woman, with long hair and dressed in white. She was walking slowly toward the station's door. Michael remembered locking it and took a deep breath to steady himself. Then suddenly, there was a knock at the door. "Michael, open the door." His blood ran cold. How did she know his name? And worse, it was the same voice he had heard on the radio. The knocking stopped, but the woman moved toward the window. Michael grabbed his flashlight and shone it outside. As the beam of light hit her face, he froze in terror. Her face was blank. No features, no eyes, just a void. Her dark, empty gaze seemed to pierce through him. Her lips moved, but the words didn't come from her mouth. They echoed inside the room. "I'm already inside." Michael turned around, only to find a shadowy figure standing right behind him, faceless and waiting. Michael stumbled backward, his flashlight shaking in his trembling hand. The shadowy figure stood still, its faceless void staring into his soul. Michael's instincts screamed at him to run, but his feet felt glued to the floor. The radio behind him crackled to life again, the static buzzing louder than before. Amidst the noise, the woman's voice returned, calm but unnervingly close. "You shouldn't have stayed here, Michael. It's too late now." Desperate, Michael grabbed a metal chair and swung it toward the figure, but the object passed through it as though it wasn't there. The shadow dissolved into black mist, swirling around him. The room felt colder, the walls pressing inward as if alive. Michael's breathing was ragged as he backed up toward the control panel. He fumbled for the emergency shut-off switch, hoping to stop whatever supernatural force had been unleashed. But as he flipped the switch, the lights in the station flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. In the pitch black, Michael heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, and circling him. He spun in every direction, clutching the flashlight, its beam now dim and flickering. Then, the voice whispered again, now right next to his ear. "Look behind you." Summoning every ounce of courage, Michael turned. What he saw would haunt him forever. The woman from the fog was standing mere inches away. Her blank face had changed. Where her features should have been, there was now a twisted, grinning mouth, full of jagged teeth. Michael screamed and bolted for the door, only to find it wide open. The forest outside was no longer still. The trees swayed violently, and the mist thickened, twisting into shapes that resembled outstretched hands. He sprinted into the woods, branches clawing at his clothes and face. Behind him, he could hear the woman's voice, calling his name, now echoing from every direction. "Michael, you can't run. This is where you belong." He didn't stop until he stumbled onto the highway. A passing truck screeched to a halt, its driver jumping out to help him. Michael tried to explain what had happened, but his words came out in incoherent gasps. The driver glanced back toward the forest, shaking his head. "You are at the old station?" the driver asked, his voice low. "That place has been abandoned for decades. They say everyone who stays there disappears." Michael's blood ran cold. As he climbed into the truck, he glanced back at the forest one last time. Standing at the edge of the trees, barely visible in the mist, was the woman, her hollow eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. And as the truck drove away, the radio in the cabin crackled to life. "See you soon, Michael."